Welcome back. The most boring in years. Well, that was the Channel 4 programming chief Kevin Lygo talking about Big Brother before the famous race row blew up. But 4 weeks and nearly 40,000 complaints to Ofcom later, Celebrity Big Brother ended last night. The winner, Bollywood actress Shilpa Shetty, and Channel 4, which saw some of its best ratings. In a moment, in his first broadcast interview since the row began, we'll hear from Channel 4's chief executive, Andy Duncan. But first, a look at the extraordinary events that started with an argument over chicken.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your winner, Shilpa!
Fireworks that Channel 4 could control for once. The people had spoken, ejected the bullies and made their victim, Bollywood princess Shilpa Shetty, the overwhelming winner. And much to the relief of programme makers and those accused, she did her bit to calm the waters.
And I know one thing for sure, Jade really didn't mean to be racist. I can say that for sure. She is a little aggressive. She may be hot-tempered, short-tempered, whatever you call it, but she's not a racist.
And her cousin...
But Shilpa hadn't seen everything the rest of us had.
She can't even speak English properly anyway.
I think she should off home.
Shilpa, wherever you are. I said last night, Shilpa popped them or something.
Are you blaming me for the chicken? As well, she went, oh, this chicken is fine. And not on his plate, started eating his chicken off of his plate. That grates me.
Is that, do they do that in India, eat with the hands?
And so with it over and a review underway, what lessons can be learned? Channel 4's unusual media shyness in the eye of the storm has drawn fire. Why didn't the tearaway of British TV either admit a mistake or come out fighting? And why did its chairman do this on the radio?
If you refer to the statement, you'll see what our view is.
Do you think racist bullying is good entertainment?
As I say, if you refer to our statement, you'll see what our comment is.
With complaints mounting, Andy Duncan, the chief exec who famously prefers T-shirts, held the line. Nobody could be sure this was racism.
We have been monitoring extremely carefully events in the House and have reached the view that we cannot with certainty say that the comments directed at Shilpa have been racially motivated, or whether they stem from broader cultural and social differences.
But if he wasn't sure, thousands were. A record 38,000 complaints went to the regulator Ofcom. Politicians were furious and Gordon Brown's visit to India hijacked as he was forced to defend British values.
And I think the Indians want reassured that we're a nation of fairness and we're a nation of tolerance.
And I'm very, very sorry, Shilpa.
With the alleged bullies now out and claiming their innocence, Britain has perhaps had a much more nuanced debate about racism than ever before. But does that justify the offence? Channel 4 has already recommissioned Big Brother. It is, after all, responsible for a huge chunk of revenue. Revenue needed to fund loss leaders like Channel 4 News. Question: was their judgment clouded by over-reliance on Big Brother cash? While Shilpa Well, I went along to Channel 4's headquarters this afternoon to speak to the chief executive, Andy Duncan, and I asked him if he felt he had made all the right decisions all the time.
In terms of the whole Big Brother furore, I think we're going to have a review. We're going to look at what happened over time, look at the individual timelines. I think it would be ridiculous to say every single decision was a perfect decision.
Ridiculous to say that, because Kevin Lygo said that, your head of programmes.
His particular comments were taken slightly out of context. I think what he was saying was the basic decisions to broadcast the programme were the right decisions. Unquestionably, when we go through this review, I think there'll be lessons to be learned for the future and things that we feel perhaps we could have done perhaps slightly differently.
So do you think what was on air was racist or not, in any way?
A lot of people did, and we regret the offence caused for those people that did. My point of view, and the point of view of a lot of people here at the channel, is it wasn't clear-cut. Also, importantly, the people who were working in editorial, in compliance, in legal, in commissioning, people taking the individual decisions on the programme, looking at the situation in context, felt that you couldn't be certain of the intent.
What's not clear-cut about she should F off home?
Well, that was one of the comments where we were sufficiently worried that there was intervention. So Danielle very specifically was called into the diary room. Big Brother questioned her, played back the comment to her. I have to say, if you actually saw the moment, I think she was very apologetic. She felt she hadn't meant it in the way that it could be construed, and she was genuinely upset by her remarks. And I have to say, I think subsequently we saw with some of the comments she made when she exited the House as well, she reiterated again that while she, I think, doesn't want to be such a bitch going forward or something along those lines.
But of course she'd say that.
She didn't believe what she'd said had been racist. So these are issues of fine judgment, and I think, look...
But that phrase, F off home to anybody from an ethnic minority who's had that directed at them in some form, and most of us have at some point in times of our lives, it's totally unequivocal. It's only ever said in one context, and that context is race. And if you put that alongside, she doesn't even speak English properly anyway, that's why so few people had any doubt about what was motivating it.
2 points here. The particular example you're quoted is one where indeed Danielle was called into the diary room and questioned by Big Brother. They're all in the context of being in the Big Brother house away from their normal home and so on and so forth. More importantly, I don't think I'm in a position today to get drawn into the individual examples. We need to look at this properly as part of the review.
When the furore kicked off, why did Channel 4 hide? Why did you not come out and defend yourselves?
Yeah. I don't think it's fair to say that we hid. In fact, quite the opposite.
But this is your first broadcast interview. You were turning down requests all the way through. You didn't appear to be defending yourselves.
I understand that's the perception of some people. I mean, to be very specific, we put out a statement on the Tuesday, we put out a further statement on the Wednesday. I myself did a press conference on the Thursday and took questions around the issue. We then tried to be as helpful as we could in the subsequent coverage about the Friday night Jade and Shilpa eviction vote. All over that weekend, again, we tried to be as helpful as we could ahead of the board meeting.
It was unfortunate, though, wasn't it, to have Luke Johnson wrong-footed like that on the radio?
I think that's been somewhat misrepresented. I mean, first of all, Luke is a non-executive chairman. He didn't want to cut across operational matters. More importantly, he went on the Today programme to talk about the BBC licence fee.
It didn't look good, though, did it?
I think, again, some people would have that view. I think I would separate the two things. And to be fair, Luke's role as chairman of the board is to speak on behalf of the board, which he did very clearly following the board meeting on Monday.
What did you make about the debate around you personally, around the period when you did come out and say something at the Oxford Convention? People were saying there's a man in a T-shirt defending Channel 4 and it's going out around the world.
So, I thought the statement that I made was very clear, and I certainly tried to answer all the questions that I was asked, in a clear and transparent way. I think there was some criticism of me wearing a T-shirt. I do wear a T-shirt very regularly, I mean, that's kind of part of who I am. It hasn't stopped me doing the job I've done either at Unilever, the BBC or Channel 4 over the last few years. But I think the key thing was the substance of what I said.
But hasn't it put you in a position now where you have a very tricky relationship with key politicians? This hijacked Gordon Brown's visit to India. The Culture Secretary, Tessa Jowell, who you also have to deal with, says this was a programme that was racism dressed up as entertainment.
I don't think we're in a tricky position in that sense. We obviously have very important contact with politicians and with key stakeholders on an ongoing basis. I've spoken to Tessa Jowell since all this flared up. I've spoken to a number of other politicians and stakeholders, and I would say there's almost a unanimous sort of sense of, yes, there are issues around Big Brother, and they're interested and keen to sort of see what we can learn from the review going forward, but they're not going to let that confuse or get in the way of the bigger picture issues around Channel 4 that have been debated, let's face it, for the last 2 or 3 years, and that will be debated as part of this bigger picture Ofcom funding review process this year. In terms of Gordon Brown, well, I'm hoping to meet with him in the near future and have a conversation with him, but again, I'm very confident that he and his advisors... Will you be apologising
for hijacking his...
Look, we didn't set out in any way, shape or form to disrupt his visit, and I will certainly make that point to him when I meet him.
Will there be more series of Celebrity Big Brother?
The intention is absolutely to keep going with Big Brother going forward. We have the first thing we're going to focus on is Big Brother 8, the summer series. Celebrity Big Brother is something that we'll look at for the future.
Isn't the big lesson, though, that you are over-reliant as a channel on Big Brother? That you had to go to extraordinary lengths to defend this programme because it's so commercially important?
I don't think it was a question of being over-reliant on Big Brother. I mean, Big Brother's an important programme for us. It's commercially important. I think it's actually a very entertaining programme at its best. But no, there's no question that we're over-reliant on it. I think we defended Big Brother in the sense of broadcasting what we broadcast. At the same time, we absolutely didn't intend to cause offence.
Has Channel 4 been damaged by this?
I don't think we've been damaged in the long term. Of course, for some people who are offended by the events of the last couple of weeks, I think there's unquestionably some short-term anger, and I don't want to downplay that in any way, shape or form. And we'll be taking that very seriously. I think in terms of our longer-term role, we are there to be innovative. We are there to push the boundaries. At times, we don't set out to cause offence, but at times our programming, our output is bound to create a controversial reaction.
Are you happy for Jade Goody to be employed by Channel 4? Or paid by Channel 4, again?
Again, I think individual decisions around programme, talent, particular people needs to be looked at in their merits. So,
well, what do you think now?
I haven't got a point of view in terms of that. I think that will need to be looked at properly in its own merit.
The Chief Executive of Channel 4, Andy Duncan. You're watching Channel 4 News, our main headlines tonight.